Welcome back, everybody. It is 219 Football here, coming back at you with another video. And today, I'm coming back from my short hiatus after the draft to bring you my rankings for every quarterback going into the 2025 NFL season. I watched film on every one of these quarterbacks at least 4 to 5 games, or else this would have taken forever, obviously, and I have some other projects I want to get to. But every single quarterback, starting wise, going into next year, will be ranked. And yeah, it's going to be a fun video. I know these kinds of videos are always really controversial, so I'm sure there's going to be plenty of comments and concerns for some of these rankings. But I believe that this is the list that I believe should be correct going into next season based off of what I've watched. So yeah, if you guys do enjoy the video, be sure to like and subscribe for more NFL and draft content. And yeah, let's get into ranking every single quarterback in the 2025 NFL season. And starting off at 32 will be Tyler Shough. I will have all the rookies and plus JJ McCarthy because he hasn't played. I'm going to have them all at the bottom of the list because obviously they haven't played in the NFL yet, so we have no idea what they're going to look like. But Tyler Shough is going to be my worst ranked quarterback in the NFL. Obviously he hasn't played it down yet, but he was a quarterback I thought was relatively overdrafted. If you want my full pre-draft thoughts about him, I have my top 10 quarterback rankings for the draft. I'll go a little summary here. I mean, he just needs to work on the under pressure decision making. He's way too scared to get hit. I think he can manage the pocket a lot better. He's got a live arm. He's got great size and athletic ability. I just think he needs to get more consistent in a lot different areas. His footwork's kind of all over the place sometimes, but when he's in rhythm, he looks really good. It's just when pressure gets in, he really breaks down and makes some really poor decisions. And so I thought he was more of a third round quarterback with some potential starting upside, but he has a lot to work on. But he also has a lot of tools to work with, and I do think he will be the Saints starter. They clearly don't have much faith in Rattler and Haener, especially after Derek Carr retired. So I think Shough will pretty comfortably win the starting job in New Orleans, and obviously he will be my worst ranked quarterback going into next season, but he can absolutely play above that, but he might not. We'll see with Tyler Shough. A lot of potential, but there's a lot of flaws as well. So yeah. And now at 31 we will have the number 1 overall pick, Cam Ward from Miami. I absolutely do not think Cam Ward will be the 31st ranked quarterback going into the end of the season, but I just have him here because, again, he hasn't played a snap in the NFL. I actually do think he was a better prospect for me than JJ McCarthy, but I have McCarthy ranked over him just because McCarthy does have that 1 year of experience more than Cam Ward. Even if he was hurt, he was still there for the offseason training and that first preseason game. At the quarterback position, he's probably one of the worst number 1 overall picks in terms of prospect status. He's still a good quarterback prospect. He's a good, solid first-round quarterback prospect, but he's not as solid as you want someone to be at the number 1 overall pick. But, I mean, he has a very live arm. He was a magician in college. I mean, he made plenty of plays with his legs in the backfield, extending the play, running. His accuracy was relatively solid at most areas for me. He does need to develop a little bit more on the mental side of things. He just has tons of boneheaded mistakes and some processing issues that he could work through for sure. So just needs to be more consistent in that department. That's something he needs to develop year 1. But he has a lot of tools to work with and should be a pretty solid quarterback, and I absolutely don't expect him to be the 31st ranked quarterback at the end of this season. But who knows? Everyone was really high on Bryce Young, and look what happened in his first year. I don't think the Titans are as poorly rostered as that Panthers team was, but they're certainly not a great team. But we'll see how Cam Ward works out. I think he'll be probably around the 25th or 26th best quarterback after this season, but we'll see. Alright, and now at 30, we will have the last quarterback kind of in this tier of quarterbacks who haven't really played. JJ McCarthy will be the highest ranked out of all these because he is the most experienced. He does have this 1 year in the NFL over some of these guys, even though I do think Cam Ward was a better prospect. But J.J. McCarthy will be taking the reins of a very, very good Vikings offense this year. And obviously Sam Darnold took them nearly to the number 1 seed last year. They did go one and done in the playoffs, but J.J. McCarthy has a lot to work with. There's a reason he was a top 10 pick. He has a great arm, super mobile, some pretty accurate overall, and made pretty good decisions in college. But he is very inexperienced, and in an offense where they don't really have a great run game, he is going to be asked to throw the ball a lot. I mean, Sam Darnold did last year. He threw a ton, and you saw when Sam Darnold couldn't throw the ball at the end of the year, the Vikings offense did, well, pretty much nothing. They put up very low point totals versus the Lions and Rams in the games that Sam Darnold did not play well. So this offense is really riding around the quarterback position playing well because the team needs to be able to throw, to be able to move the ball efficiently. So J.J. McCarthy will have some expectations on his shoulders this year. And obviously he's a young quarterback, he's inexperienced, so I do expect the Vikings offense to take a relative step down to from what it was last year, where it was really incredible for most of the season. But obviously his development will be helped a lot by the great receiving core the Vikings have, the great head coach they have, and so there's a very real world where J.J. McCarthy plays like a top 15 quarterback next season, and there's a very real world where he does struggle and he plays like a top or a bottom 25 quarterback, or even worse. So we will see. J.J. McCarthy has a lot to work with, but he is very raw as a passer and in terms of experience. So J.J. McCarthy comes in at 30 for the Minnesota Vikings. And now starting off at 29, we will have Mason Rudolph of the Steelers. He's projected to be the starter right now. I don't know if that's going to happen, whether or not Rodgers is going to be on this team. I don't know. If Rodgers was the starter on this team, he would probably rank around 23rd for me. He was not great last year, but I don't think he's horrible yet. But he was not good. But Mason Rudolph, yeah, he's just kind of your basic backup quarterback. There's really not much to say about him. Everyone kind of knows what he is. He can bring you some solid performances, but overall, he's just not very great at any real aspect of the game. But he can gift you 3 to 4 wins a season, maybe. I mean, that's what he did for the Titans last year. But yeah, Mason Rudolph probably is the worst starter in the league, depending on how the 3 before him play that I've ranked. But yeah, Mason Rudolph, 29 for the Steelers, who's their projected starter right now. Not great. And now at 28, we will have the Cleveland Browns, Kenny Pickett. Honestly, the Browns, their quarterback room is kind of a disaster. I could see this being Joe Flacco. I don't think either of the rookies are going to start, Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. I'm going to go with Pickett. I think he's probably the best out of all of them, maybe besides Joe Flacco. But Pickett, not very good, obviously. He was not great with the Steelers, got shipped out of there, was a backup with the Eagles. Just really, his accuracy is kind of just all over the place, to be honest. That was the biggest thing when watching him. I mean, coming out of college, his accuracy I thought was a pretty good trait. Now it's just kind of all over the place, really. He doesn't have really good arm talent. His footwork's relatively decent, I will say that. But then his pocket awareness and pocket management is just awful as well. I mean, he really just does not feel the rush at all. So Kenny Pickett, 28. He's not a starter in the NFL. He's just, the accuracy is too all over the place for the lack of arm talent, the lack of pressure management, all of it. He's just not very good, and probably will give up the starting job at some point to one of the rookies, but that remains to be seen. And now at 27, we will have Anthony Richardson of my Indianapolis Colts. I've been a huge Anthony Richardson fan. I've been rooting for him the whole time, but you cannot deny the last year was a massive disappointment in terms of his development. Just kept getting injured, got benched. Um, Everything that happened, he just really did not progress at all from his rookie year. I felt like late in the year he showed a bit of flashes, but then the Broncos game came and he just did not look good again. But I mean, with Anthony Richardson, obviously the physical tools will be talked about for forever. I mean, generational quarterback in terms of athletic tools, just not generational in terms of pretty much everything else, at least so far. The accuracy still needs to be dialed in. I mean, it's just all over the place. His decision making needs to improve as well. I mean, I think he had less than 50% completion percentage last year. There are high-end throws everywhere on his tape, but for every high-end throw, there is a boneheaded, terrible missed throw on the tape. I mean, there's just so much potential with Anthony Richardson that I'm not ready to give up on him at all. If he shows like relative improvement this year, I think the Colts still have to give him a shot, but that is one big if. I do think he is the starting quarterback. I don't think it's Daniel Jones. I think he has so much potential, and I do think he will end up working out, but that's probably just the more Colts fan in me. But we'll have to see with Anthony Richardson, but it has not been good so far. That is for sure. And now 26 will be Justin Fields, the new quarterback for the New York Jets. They signed Fields in the offseason to a short 2-year deal. He started a decent amount of games for the Steelers last year when Russell Wilson was hurt. But, I mean, yeah, the problems with Fields from Chicago have kind of carried over to the Steelers days. Obviously, the arm and the legs are fantastic, and his deep accuracy, for the most part, is really on point. It's just the accuracy every other area of the game is just lacking, to be honest. And just he gets locked onto his first read way too often as well, which he definitely needs to work on still. So, I mean, at this point in your career, if you're still a work in progress, it's probably never going to click for you, and he's probably just going to always be this kind of high-end backup, low-end starter type. But just he needs to develop more aspects of his game, and if he hasn't yet, it's a real question if he ever will. But he's a fun player to watch, just not the most consistent, and just has slight accuracy problems underneath, I feel like, and as well as processing issues and some decision-making issues. 25 is Michael Penix Jr., the second-year quarterback now for the Atlanta Falcons. He had very little action in 2024, obviously. I think he played only 3 full games, but you saw some flashes with him. I mean, the game-winning drive against the Commanders really is a highlight. But he just wasn't really the most consistent, and honestly, that Commanders game, he really just did not play well outside of that final drive. Just a lot of missed reads, a lot of strange decisions, but there are real flashes with Michael Penix. I mean, the arm talent jumps off the tape, and he just has some really high-end plays, but right now he's just too inconsistent, and we haven't had too big of a sample size for me to rate him higher than this. But he can absolutely develop and become one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL next year, but he could also be consistent like he was in his 3 games and remain a kind of lower-end starter with some upside. But we'll see. I think he will take that step forward and be more of a mid-tier starting quarterback next year. We'll see how his career outlook looks, but I think he should be a relatively good quarterback next year, as long as he fixes some of his mistakes. I just felt like he wasn't seeing the field a lot of the time, but he's got tons of potential, and yeah, Michael Penix at 25 for me. Now, 24 will be Russell Wilson of the New York Giants now. I decided to make a video mid-season when he was going off about how he's back. Of course, after that video, he decided to go back to being regular old Russell Wilson, so that's why he ranks down here. But I mean, the flashes of that little mid-season run were incredible, which was nice, but alas, he's still the good old Russell Wilson that we all know and love. So just not a real high upside guy, but he can come in, he can get you some wins, as he did with the Steelers, led them to the playoffs, but he's going into a Giants team that has a much less talent around it on the offense. He has his kind of George Pickens type where he can feed him the ball like he did in Malik Neighbors, but again, I just don't think Russell Wilson is going to be a starter in New York past 1 or 2 seasons. I really highly doubt it's past 1. But, I mean, he made some really big plays last year. I don't think he was awful after his mid-season reign of terror ended, but he certainly was not great. But he's relatively accurate, especially when throwing downfield still, but his decision making is just kind of all over the place, and his pocket presence and awareness just not great. So Russell Wilson will come in at 24, more of a lower end starter. Got a decent floor, but not too much of a ceiling to speak of. So yeah. And now 23 will be Caleb Williams of the Chicago Bears, the 2024 number 1 overall pick. If you guys want my full thoughts on Caleb Williams, I made a video going over how I watched every single throw from Caleb Williams' 2024 season, and you can get my full thoughts on that, but I'll give a summary here. I mean, the high-end flashes are incredible with Caleb Williams. I mean, he showcases real high-end elite throws every single week, it feels like, but they're very few and far between. For every elite throw he had, he kind of had one where he was just like, what are you doing? I think he holds onto the ball too long, and his biggest problem for me was his deep accuracy was just truly terrible last year. Like, I know you can see some of these clips here that he looks great, but last year, in truth, in terms of pure accuracy, he was awful in downfield. Other areas of the field he was pretty good, but downfield he just really struggled. So he's going to have to dial that in for next year and just play a bit more on time and have some more anticipation. It was an area where he had a little bit of it, but I felt like he should have had more. And then I feel like he, again, held onto the ball a little too long occasionally and got himself into some trouble and some bad sacks. But overall, Caleb Williams has tons of potential, and I still believe in that number 1 overall pick that we saw, but he still has a lot of things to clean up, that is for sure. Decision making, accuracy downfield, playing on time, holding onto the ball, those sorts of things. 22 is going to be Tua Tagovailoa of the Miami Dolphins. Now, this might seem really low for some people for Tua, but just to be honest, I really don't think he's worth his contract at all. After last year, it just kind of, it's every year it just seems to be the same with Tua. He's the kind of quarterback, he's good enough to get you to the playoffs, but I don't think he's good enough to get you a win. And especially with Miami's gimmicky offense, their inability to play in cold weather, in tough games, it just really seems like Tua is not the guy to take you to the promised land. I mean, his accuracy is decent, but for a quarterback like him, I feel like his accuracy should be even a little better. His arm talent, obviously, we know is not very good. He cannot make all the throws you want him to make. His decision making is average at best. He makes relatively good decisions. He's one of the best quarterbacks in terms of throwing with anticipation, which is nice, but he has to, in the offense that he runs and the play style that he has to throw with anticipation, or his arm doesn't have the strength to get it there. His mechanics are relatively good. I just think his decision making and reading the defense as well is kind of a little struggle for him. I don't know. I think he's a high floor but really low ceiling quarterback, and I don't think he should be the franchise guy in Miami, if it were me running things, of course. Now we will get to former Patriots 3rd overall pick, Drake Maye. Maye just had a really good rookie year, to be honest. With the offense that he had around him, he played honestly phenomenally. I know he had tons of interception numbers. It's his rookie year, and he was playing in an offense where, to be honest, he kind of had to play hero ball. The playmakers around him just do not really make plays because they're just not that good. His offensive line was putrid. Play calling wasn't fantastic. I don't know. Just everything around him was not great, and he still made the most of it and had a really good rookie year. Even if he threw a good amount of picks, it's kind of his play style. He's more of a gunslinger. But, I mean, he has really good accuracy overall, especially his downfield shots are incredibly accurate. He does need to cut down on the turnovers. I mean, he really did make some boneheaded throws, especially late in games. I feel like he leaned too much into the hero ball, and I feel like he made a bunch of poor decisions late in the games, like the Rams and Titans games come up. But he had a lot of flashes, that is for sure. He had tons of flashes. Gotta be a little more consistent, but overall, I mean, the accuracy, the arm strength, the mobility, it's all there with Drake Maye. And with a horrible, cast around him, I feel like he made the most of his opportunities. And at 20, we will have Bryce Young of the Carolina Panthers. So over the course of the second half of the season, Bryce Young, honestly, especially really late down the stretch, played like a top 15 quarterback. But again, we only have half a season of that production, so I'm a little hesitant to put him all the way up there already. But if he continues to play like that, which I hope and think that he will absolutely be jumping up in my rankings going into next season. But just overall, he just played so much better than what he did his rookie season and the first two games of this season. I mean, he got his accuracy back. He felt more poised in the pocket. He felt like his Alabama self again. And as well, which was nice, he was taking more frequent deep shots down the field, which was really refreshing because just overall his rookie year, he just was not taking shots down the field at all. So it was really nice to see him taking shots down the field and delivering them really accurately. But yeah, I mean, he just looked like a completely different quarterback over the second half of the season and played incredibly well, like nearly top 10 level quarterback play from him over the second half of the season. I just wish he put it together for a full season. But nonetheless, there's a lot to work with Bryce Young. There's a reason he was the number one overall pick, and he definitely showed it last year. So, yeah. And at 19, coming off his stellar rookie season, Bo Nix of the Denver Broncos. He really just blew expectations out of the water for people his rookie year. I was really high on him coming into the year, so this is about what I expected, but a lot of people were not as high as I was on him coming out of the draft. So he was really good for the Broncos. He started off really, really bad, though. That's the issue. Everybody thought he's a bust. He's what we thought he was, but he turned it around over the course of the second half of the year, and he really made those early games kind of look null, kind of like Bryce Young. He just turned his whole season around as he got more used to the NFL play style. Sean Payton just did a great job with Bo Nix, giving him everything he needed, catering to his play style, everything. I mean, Bo Nix, his accuracy was great. His arm strength was better than most people thought. I was higher on his arm strength coming out of college, so there's that. And then, I mean, yeah, he was just a really, really solid quarterback the whole season, pretty much, outside of those first few games. I mean, he was accurate, he was mobile, he could hit shots downfield, he hit the layups, everything you wanted from a rookie season from Bo Nix, you got it. And he's only going to get better from here on out. And so the Broncos' future, especially with Bo Nix at quarterback, is definitely looking bright. And 18 will be Kyler Murray of the Arizona Cardinals. So overall, Kyler Murray, he started out the year actually really well with that loss to the Bills and that massive win over the Rams in week 2. And he just kind of slowly, progressively got worse over the course of the season. Just overall, Kyler Murray, he's kind of just we know what he is. He's kind of a average quarterback at this point who's going to make some great plays and then make some not great plays. Really, for Kyler Murray, the trouble with him, at least for me, is just consistency. I mean, he was not consistent game to game. He was not consistent play to play. Like, for every incredible throw that he made, he would make one horrible, just awful, really bad decision. And both times he played the Seahawks, they definitely had his number. That is for sure. So he just overall has to get better as a pure thrower if he wants to return to that top 10 form he was at just a couple seasons ago. So, yeah, Kyler Murray, I mean, he has all the arm talent in the world. He has all the mobility in the world. It's just his inconsistencies are really, really holding him back. And I don't know what to make of really last season, as he started off so great and just progressively got worse and worse. So we'll see with Kyler Murray. I don't really see him returning to that top 10 form he was at a few seasons ago ever again. To be honest, it just seems like he's kind of hit his peak. So yeah, Kyler Murray will come in at 18. I could definitely see him placing higher, but this is around the range I see him at right now. And yet another quarterback that has a lot of consistency issues, 17, Trevor Lawrence of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, with Trevor Lawrence, former number 1 overall pick, one of the most highly touted number 1 overall picks we've had in a while. A lot of people call him the best quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck. Who knows? I wasn't looking at prospects back then. But as for NFL Trevor Lawrence, definitely been a bit of a disappointment for his expectations coming into the league. I mean, last year he's been injured a little bit this past season, but I mean, obviously the arm strength, the size, the mobility, all that stands out with Trevor Lawrence, but really his decision making is kind of what I think holds him back. Just sometimes his decisions just really get him in trouble and are just mind-boggling at times. But overall, his accuracy is pretty decent. I would say his accuracy could be a bit better, but for the most part, it's pretty good. Deep accuracy is a little where it's like shaky, but he has some really great throws, and again, some just really bad decisions where he's just throwing it up, and his guy is definitely not the one coming down with it. So Trevor Lawrence just, again, needs to get more consistent. He's still young. He's still developing, but the Jags did pay him that big contract, and we're not really seeing it pay off right now, at least for me. So Trevor Lawrence at 17. Now coming to one of the harder quarterbacks to gauge after last season, Sam Darnold of now the Seattle Seahawks, formerly the Minnesota Vikings. Darnold came out last year and lit the NFL on fire. I mean, he played incredible the regular season, that first half, and he had some struggles in the middle, but mostly the full season for the most part. I mean, he looked fantastic. And if it was just based off of those games, he probably would be a top 10 quarterback. But you have to take into account the final 2 games he played. He looked like Sam Darnold of old. And it's really concerning, as the 2 biggest games of the season, he just completely collapsed and just kind of forgot everything that he did the previous 16 weeks to get them there. And I don't know, he just looked awful. I mean, he was missing throws left and right. He looked super jittery in the pocket. His footwork broke down. He was taking terrible sacks. He couldn't get rid of the ball. He was throwing bad interceptions. I mean, he looked like the Sam Darnold that we'd seen for years and years. And I don't really know how to gauge that, so I'm kind of putting it in the middle here, putting him at 16. He had a great regular season, yes, but you can't ignore the fact that he completely broke down in the playoff game and that final game to take the 1 seed. So Sam Darnold, he's a fine quarterback, but I think there's some serious concern. And now the newest really high-paid quarterback, the 49ers, Brock Purdy, getting his payday, and honestly, I think it's deserved. Anytime you have a top 15 quarterback, you got to make sure you keep him. I get it. Some people hate Brock Purdy. They think he's a system quarterback. And yes, the system does help Brock Purdy, but he does operate the system really well. He's one of the more accurate quarterbacks in the NFL. He can hit pretty much every throw. Obviously, his arm strength limits him deep. That is definitely a concern. The physical attributes are really not super great with Brock Purdy, but overall, in terms of reading the defense, making the throws that are open, he's one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL at doing that. So, I mean, there's not really a whole lot to say about Brock Purdy. I mean, he makes plays. He did have more of a down year, but also so did, I don't know, the entire 49ers team. So they dealt with injuries, especially at receiver. His receiving core was not very good. Thankfully, Ricky Pearsall decided to show up in that second half of the year. And then as well, Jawan Jennings really had a really nice breakout, which was nice to see. But overall, Brock Purdy, I mean, he's not perfect. He absolutely makes a good amount of mistakes, but he is not a great quarterback, but he's really good for the 49ers in their system, and they could definitely make it work with him at quarterback in the future, as he's already taken them to a Super Bowl. And 14 is going to be Jordan Love of the Green Bay Packers. So Jordan Love is one of the most polarizing quarterbacks in the NFL from week to week. That is definitely for sure. I mean, for every great game he has an equally just mind-puzzling game where he just throws the worst interceptions you've ever seen. But I think this year he was a lot more a lot less bipolar, and he kind of reeled it in a bit more as he was just overall more solid as a quarterback. While he didn't have the greatest receiving core in the world as well, he definitely made it work. Every week he would make some really, really good throws and some really, really poor throws, but I think he turned down the dial on the wacky, insane turnovers. But there are still some concerns with Jordan Love. I mean, the footwork still just is not super polished and it's kind of all over the place. His accuracy is really tied to his footwork as well. Whenever his footwork is out of whack, his accuracy as well is. And then obviously he's a really aggressive decision maker. I mean, he's a gunslinger, so he does have those really poor interceptions, and honestly his decision making just does need to get a little better. But overall, he's a really exciting quarterback to watch, and when he's on, he is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. The issue is he's not always perfect, and maybe the Packers are going to have to live with that, but he's only a 2-year starter, so he's definitely still developing, but they did give him a big payday, so they better hope that he finishes his development soon. And now one of the more controversial placements on the list, 13, is going to be Jalen Hurts of the Eagles. Now, I just have to start off by saying Eagles fans are absolutely out of their minds placing Jalen Hurts in the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. I mean, there's just absolutely no way you can really think that. And judging just based off of what I watched, he's not even close to a top 5 caliber quarterback. Don't get me wrong, Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback, and honestly, I expected him to place even lower on this list after watching him, but he does make it still to 13. I do think he's a top 15 quarterback in the NFL, but I do not even think he's a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, let alone top 5. So, getting into Jalen Hurts, he's probably one of the best deep ball throwers in the entire NFL, like probably top 3. Unfortunately, his arm does top out relatively early. Like, he does not have the strongest arm in the world, that is for sure. So, unfortunately, he can't throw these super long bombs, but in terms of when he's in rhythm, has his feet set, he is one of the best deep balls in the entire NFL. So, that's really good with Jalen Hurts, and overall, his accuracy is relatively good at all levels. The issues with Jalen Hurts are just some of the decisions he makes are pretty insane. Like, I think he thinks he has a stronger arm than he does, but because some of his decisions and his interceptions just come off of him trying to fit throws into tight windows that just really aren't there for his arm strength. But he does have some really nice throws. And as well, the offense around him is literally like the best offense you could ever ask for. Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, and Devontae Smith, plus Jahan Dotson, and then plus the best offensive line in the entire NFL. So, you have to consider that Jalen Hurts has it easier than pretty much every other quarterback in the entire NFL, and it makes sense as to why he won the Super Bowl. Which, yes, he played really good in the Super Bowl, and yeah, he outplayed Mahomes, but there were completely different teams on both ends. And are we seriously forgetting, just because he played great in the Super Bowl, that he played really poorly in the games leading up to the Super Bowl? I mean, I can't really speak for the Commanders game as much, but the Packers game and the Rams game, he almost single-handedly gave both teams the game. I mean, the Packers were able to hang around a lot longer than they should have, and the Rams almost won the game because the Eagles really just could not throw the ball. And once Saquon was shut down, the Eagles really couldn't do much. So Jalen Hurts comes in at 13. He's a fine quarterback. He's a fine middle-of-the-road quarterback. But he's absolutely not the superstar stud that some of these Eagles fans are making him out to be, and some of these NFL fans are. So I like Jalen Hurts, but he is absolutely not a top 5 quarterback. And coming in at 12 is going to be the goofball, Jared Goff of the Detroit Lions. So Jared Goff probably also benefits a lot from his offense, like Jalen Hurts. I mean, he had the best play caller in the NFL. He had one of the better, probably the second best offensive line in the NFL. He had a great receiving core. Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams enjoyed a nice breakout season. Tim Patrick was there as well. And then, of course, their monster running back tandem that they had with Montgomery and Gibbs. And Goff really just doesn't have to do a whole lot, to be honest. I mean, when you have that much talent around you, you don't really gotta try as hard. Which, I mean, Jared Goff is a good quarterback. I mean, he makes some great throws. I mean, he gets the ball to these playmakers really accurately and on time. He just doesn't have the high upside that most of these other quarterbacks are. I mean, he's the definition of a quarterback that you can win the Super Bowl with if you have a great team around him, but you're not going to win the Super Bowl because of him with a mediocre team around him. He can make great throws, but they're relatively easy to him. I mean, some of these receivers are making great plays for him. He's on time. He plays within the structure of the offense really well, but occasionally he does revert back to old Jared Goff, where he just makes puzzling decisions. The accuracy is not always there, but for the most part, his accuracy is really good, but he just has some occasional errant throws. Obviously, the one in the playoff game comes up as a real big punch in the gut for the Lions. But overall, Jared Goff, he's a solid quarterback, but he's absolutely not a quarterback that you're going to win because of, but he's a quarterback you can win with a great team, and I expect him to at least take the Lions to a Super Bowl one day, but if he doesn't, then it's really unfortunate for the Lions and Jared Goff, but overall, he's a solid quarterback. And just missing out on the top 10 will be Dak Prescott of the Dallas Cowboys. So Dak Prescott had his season cut short due to injury. Again, he's been relatively injury prone the past few years, but I know it's probably really popular to hate on Dak because he's a Cowboy, and fair enough, to be honest, but he is a super solid quarterback, and the year before this, he played like an MVP candidate, played one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Obviously, that early playoff exit kind of left a sour taste in everyone's mouths, but overall this season, he played relatively solid. He definitely regressed from his previous year's form, but also Jerry Jones decided to get him no weapons. So it was an offense running kind of outside of CeeDee Lamb. Their weapons were kind of terrible, so he had to make do with what he had. His offensive line was pretty decent overall. It wasn't amazing, but it wasn't terrible. But I mean, Dak Prescott, you know who he is. He's a quarterback that overall plays really well throughout the regular season. It's just in the playoffs he kind of lacks the showing up power, but Dak is still a fringe top 10 quarterback. I just have him right on the outside on this one, so yeah. And finally, cracking our top 10 quarterbacks is going to be C.J. Stroud of the Houston Texans. So he did have a little bit of sophomore slump, but so did kind of the entire Texans roster. I mean, just the offensive line issue was really bad, and before I watched the film, I kind of chalked his sophomore slump up to the offensive line and the injuries with the receivers, but you could tell CJ Stroud definitely did regress himself. Not a ton, but very slightly. I felt like his playmaking was definitely shut down a lot more this year. I felt like he couldn't make some of the crazy plays that he did his rookie year as much, and so that kind of limited the offense a little bit. But he still had a lot of great throws, and for the most part, him and Nico Collins, just when Nico was healthy, their connection was as good as it had ever been. And unfortunately, his receivers decided to get hurt. Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, as you can see here. And obviously, Nico Collins did not play the full season himself. So dealing with that many injuries plus the offensive line problems for a young quarterback is probably why he regressed. And I don't blame him for it. But he was still a really good quarterback and led the Texans to a playoff win against a team that they were heavily favored to lose against, and a great defense as well that he just carved up. Obviously, earlier in that game, he wasn't great, but CJ Stroud, overall, I'm expecting him to take a little bit of a bounce back this year, and yeah, I still think he's a good quarterback even after the sophomore slump. And ladies and gentlemen, I have been enlightened. I did absolutely not expect Geno Smith to make my top 10, let alone my top 9 coming into this film watching. But, wow. I mean, Geno Smith thoroughly impressed me in every area of his game. And honestly, I'm willing to come out and say he is the most accurate quarterback in the entire NFL. I mean, maybe you could chalk it up to Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow and Geno Smith 1A, 1B for me, but the throws that Geno Smith makes on a weekly basis are unbelievable. I mean, some of these throws are insane, and just to be honest, Geno Smith in every aspect of this game is kind of underrated. I mean, he can run, he's relatively clutch late in games. I mean, you saw in the 49ers game and the Rams game. And I mean, just makes some of the most insane throws you will ever see. And his arm strength is incredible. He has great arm talent. He can move in the pocket. His footwork, for the most part, is pretty good. I'd say he does struggle to get through his reads sometimes. I'd like to see him go through his progressions a bit better. But overall, I mean, Geno Smith just absolutely impressed me a ton with his film watching, and I think he's actually a great quarterback, and I think the Raiders got a massive upgrade, and I think the Seahawks got a little bit of a downgrade if we see the Sam Darnold of late. And coming off one of the best rookie seasons we have ever seen, Jayden Daniels is my number 8 quarterback. I mean, just basically transferred seamlessly from LSU to the NFL. His deep ball throwing skills did not skip a beat, especially when throwing to Terry McLaurin, and just what an incredible rookie season for Jayden Daniels. He definitely blew my expectations out of the water. That is for sure. I expected him to be one of the not best quarterbacks in the NFL, that's for sure, but I mean, every week this guy was making great plays with his legs, with his arm. I mean, he looked amazing. I don't know if it was better than C.J. Stroud's rookie season, but there's no point in comparing two different players. And yeah, Jayden Daniels just looked really, really good. Every week he was making some crazy downfield throw that was right on the money. And yeah, I mean, the highs are super high with Jayden Daniels. I didn't think he was like this insane top 5 quarterback that some people have been saying from just based off of last year, but he did look really, really good. I think he could go through his progressions a little better, and I do think sometimes he just can play a little better, but obviously he's a rookie, so he has plenty of time to improve on that. And for a rookie season, this was absolutely a great one, and yeah, you guys know how good Jayden Daniels is. And coming in at number 7 is the revived, rejuvenated corpse of Baker Mayfield. I mean, just a few years ago, this guy was dead in the water, and everybody thought he was one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL if he were to start, and now he is absolutely one of the best. He just got honestly, his biggest improvement from this season is just he got so much more consistent week to week. It felt like he was one of the most consistent quarterbacks in the NFL in terms of going through his reads, making the right throws on time and accurately. I think his accuracy was absolutely incredible, and the arm strength has definitely not skipped a beat at all. And just he was a super fun player to watch. I mean, him and Mike Evans had a great connection. Him and Chris Godwin had a great connection. Unfortunately, Godwin didn't get hurt. They got Jalen McMillan, and now he's going to have not Jackson Smith and Jigba, Emeka Ibuka to throw to. Very similar players. But Baker Mayfield just absolutely lit the world on fire last year. His numbers were insane, but there are a few areas he can improve, obviously. I mean, his decision making sometimes does get him in trouble. He does get a little too aggressive. But overall, I mean, I thought he played phenomenally last season. I thought the numbers backed it up on film. And just, he was incredible. I mean, he made great throws every week. He was accurate on time. Just really an incredible quarterback season from Baker Mayfield. And absolutely deserving of my number 7 placement on my list. And number 6 is going to be Matthew Stafford. Just at this point in his career, he's the definition of a great veteran quarterback. Somebody who's way past their physical prime, but just recently entering their mental prime. Just in terms of mentals, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the entire NFL. Going through his reads, making throws, reading defenses. He's incredibly accurate. I mean, the arm may not be as good as it once was, but he can still sling the thing for sure. And just overall, he really has an amazing connection with his receivers. Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp. Obviously, Cooper Kupp is now gone, but with Puka Nacua still, and now getting Davante Adams, a receiver who had a great connection with Aaron Rodgers, another quarterback who's one of the better quarterbacks in terms of the mental aspect. I mean, he should take no steps back this year. Obviously, I know he's probably considering retiring soon, which is unfortunate, but he is very old, and it would be definitely for sure sad to see him go. But I mean, he's a great quarterback to watch every week. I mean, he makes great throws, accurate, on time. One of the better quarterbacks in terms of the NFL in that area, and just incredible. His footwork's solid. He makes aggressive throws. He doesn't shy away from tight windows, and he just manipulates defenders so much better than any other quarterback that we've talked about so far. And yeah, just really incredible that Stafford is still playing at this high of a level this late in his career, and just, yeah, really good. And we've now reached the top 5, and number 5 will be Justin Herbert of the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, I know it is very common to hate on Herbert these days, especially after his most recent performance being pretty terrible against the Houston Texans in the playoffs, but let me preface this by saying he's a clear tier below every other quarterback that I'm going to talk about after this. He's a very clear tier below them. But Justin Herbert, I think it's being understated just how good he was during the regular season. All the way through, and it's not like Sam Darnold, where 2 biggest games of the year, he completely collapsed. He had one game in the wild card where, yes, he looked pretty poor, but he did not look as just downright terrible like Sam Darnold. Like, he made a few really bad throws that just went the defense's way. And yeah, he did not play great, but it was not Sam Darnold level collapse in the big game. But just during the regular season, I mean, he was absolutely phenomenal. Probably one of his best seasons he's ever had, especially in terms of taking care of the ball, making the right throws. Like, occasionally he would have some tough reads or some bad throws down the field. But, I mean, overall, just the lack of a presence on the outside besides Ladd McConkey was absolutely felt. I mean, his tight end situation was really bad, and just overall, Quentin Johnson and Josh Palmer were not getting it done on the outside, and it really seemed like he missed someone like a Mike Williams who can really go up and get it. He kept throwing those shots to Quentin Johnson, and he just never came down with them. So Justin Herbert, it's really nice to see him to get Trey Harris, who And, well, they did actually get Mike Williams back, so there's that. But Trey Harris should come in and play really well with Herbert. And he was just really phenomenal. I mean, he was hitting throws left and right. He was making great reads. And just, you played really, really well throughout the entire season, except for the one game against the Houston Texans where he just did not look like himself. So, Justin Herbert, clear tier below the rest of the guys I'm going to talk about, but still a very, very good quarterback. And now we will have the reigning MVP, Josh Allen. Now, of course, this will seem pretty low for a reigning MVP, all the way down at number 4, especially when it comes to Josh Allen. But overall, I just think the 3 quarterbacks that I have ahead of him were just slightly better. And honestly, 3 and 4 can be interchanged, and honestly, I would be fine with either. Honestly, I do think he probably deserved the title of MVP a little more, as overall, to his team, I think he was more valuable than Lamar was. I think overall the offensive structure of the Ravens was a little better, obviously with Derrick Henry, better receiving core and whatnot. But overall, I do think Lamar as a quarterback just slightly outplays Josh Allen in that aspect. But Josh Allen, overall, I mean, the arm strength is incredible. Obviously, we've known this. He makes tons of plays, and honestly, he did a much, much better job this year of taking care of the football. Last year, I do remember he threw a lot of interceptions. This year, he did quite the opposite. Just overall, really, really improved in that aspect. Did not turn over the ball nearly as much. Did not make as many boneheaded decisions, while also still being the gunslinger that we all know and love. I do think that the receiving core kind of held him back a little bit. Obviously, Khalil Shakir was honestly his only reliable target. Even Dalton Kincaid didn't really take a step forward. Keon Coleman was all right for a few games, but for the most part, he was a little too inconsistent. But Khalil Shakir and Josh Allen did have a very nice connection, which was good. And just overall, Josh Allen, he's Josh Allen. I mean, he makes plays. He was the MVP for a reason. He was really, really good last season. But I just think the 3 quarterbacks I have ahead of him are just a little slightly better, but he is still really awesome. And I did kind of spoil it a little bit, but Lamar Jackson is my number 3 quarterback this year. So Lamar, honestly, I think Josh Allen is a little bit better of a passer, but I think Lamar is just overall the more dynamic runner. Obviously, we love to watch Josh Allen shake off a million tacklers and barrel forward for 10 yards at a time, but Lamar is just so dynamic in the speed, the agility, and making people miss and all that, and he's still a really, really good passer. Like, he is just slightly behind Josh Allen in terms of pure passing ability, in my opinion, but I mean, he was really good this year. Rashad Bateman took a real step forward, which was nice, and just, yeah, I mean, Lamar was incredible yet again. Honestly, he was probably better than his MVP season last year, that he won the MVP award. But, I mean, just making great plays. Like, obviously, he had the occasional boneheaded move, but you'll get that with every quarterback, especially in the playoffs where he had that big fumble. But snowy environment, playoff game, anything can happen. But he still did play really well, and he was the only reason that they even had a chance to tie that game up in the first place. But I mean, yeah, Lamar, he just made some really incredible plays this year that you just don't see from really any other quarterback in the entire NFL, except for maybe like Josh Allen and Mahomes. So yeah, Lamar is going to come in at number 3. Honestly, if you placed him a little higher or a little lower, I would get it either way. Lamar is he's still a great quarterback though. And a little bit of a shocker here, Patrick Mahomes is not my number 1 quarterback going into next season. So Patrick Mahomes did have a down year in 2024. He threw more interceptions, less touchdowns, less yards, all that. But yet again, they went to the Super Bowl. And honestly, probably with a weaker overall team that they had in previous years, the offensive line was not nearly as good. Just especially the tackle positions in general were just poor, like just absolutely pitiful. I mean, you saw it in the Super Bowl as well. The receiving core was not very good. Xavier Worthy was really the only bright spot on that receiving core. Obviously, Rashee Rice was out most of the year due to injury. but Mahomes still just made the most of it. Travis Kelce as well took a little bit of a step back. He was good for the most part, but Super Bowl he was basically non-existent. But Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes, and on film he still looked very good even with the down numbers. Just there's something to be said for winning, and it's not like the Jalen Hurts winning where he may not play super great and he doesn't have to do a whole lot, but he still wins, which makes him a great quarterback. It's not really what I'm getting at here. Mahomes, he finds ways to win. When his team is down or it's a close game, Mahomes is always the one that comes up with the plays. He always makes the great throws. He always escapes and just barely outruns that defender for the first down. It's those late game plays where you really can never count Mahomes out because he's just great in all aspects of the game. He did take a slight regression in 2024, and that's kind of why he's kind of fallen out of his own tier ahead of the entire NFL at this point, and he's not even my number one quarterback going into next season. So the regression did take a toll, but he's still Patrick Mahomes, and he still played great despite the lower numbers. So yeah, Patrick Mahomes, he's still a great quarterback, and he comes in at number 2. And now, getting to my number 1 quarterback going into next season, it is none other than Joe Burrow of the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, just watching his film, it was so much better than any other quarterback this season that I had watched. Every single one he was better than, and it was a pretty clear margin. He should have won the MVP if they made the playoffs. Even if they didn't have a great record and just barely squeaked in, honestly, he probably was deserving of it. It's really sad that the Bengals wasted one of the best quarterbacking seasons I've ever seen. I mean, part of it looked like Tom Brady out there. I'm going to be completely honest. I mean, his every aspect of this game is elite. I mean, accuracy, it's possibly the best in the entire NFL, tied with Geno for me. The arm strength may not be fantastic, but it's absolutely good enough to get the ball anywhere on the field. And just overall, his pocket management, his pressure management, pocket awareness, presence, all of that is absolutely phenomenal. He's so tough. He will take a hit right in the mouth and still deliver the throw accurate on time with his feet set in the pocket. I mean, he makes some of the best throws in the entire NFL every single week. It's just insane how good Joe Burrow was last year. I mean, everything. I mean, he can make you miss. He has great mobility. I mean, his anticipation was phenomenal. His accuracy was great. He can make every throw. He could make you miss in the pocket. He could just dodge rushers. His connection with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins was phenomenal. I mean, he showed up late in games. If his defense was not as terrible as it was, then the Bengals should have been riding into the playoffs and possibly even going to the Super Bowl. I mean, this is probably Joe Burrow's best season he's ever had, and they didn't even make the playoffs. So, honestly, it's just so sad that the Bengals wasted such an incredible season from Joe Burrow, and he was absolutely far and away the best quarterback I had watched coming off of last year. Just absolutely phenomenal, and it really did look like watching prime Tom Brady again out there. But yeah, that is number 1. Joe Burrow, absolutely deserving of the number 1 quarterback, and I really hope he continues this going into next year because he was super fun to watch. So that is going to wrap it up for my 2025 quarterback rankings. I hope you guys really did enjoy. Obviously, there's going to be some hot takes in here, some takes you guys disagree with. So just feel free to leave a comment or whatever. If you want to tell me I'm an idiot, go ahead, or praise me, whatever. But yeah, that's my rankings for the quarterback going into next season. Obviously, this is not going to be the perfect list, and they're not going to be in this exact order coming out of next year. I predict plenty of quarterbacks are going to jump up and plenty are going to jump down. So we'll have to see. It's going to be a great year, and overall, it was really fun to go through every single quarterback and really decipher who I thought was better than the rest. And yeah, so thank you all for watching. If you guys did enjoy, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video where I will be going over some of the quarterback prospects for the 2026 NFL draft class.